how do I want that result to be structured. So this can be anything from arrange it in paragraphs, make sure you have short sentences, or use bullet points, or write it as an email, or arrange it in a table. So this is where I would ask Gemini to produce things in a specific format. So I will share this as well with you after. So this is a breakdown of what I was just explaining, but you will have access to this framework for prompt engineering if you want to dive deeper and you want to explore and try some things out. So let's dive into Gemini. And of course, the first question is, how do I even access Gemini? So especially if maybe, let's say you have not used Gemini yet, straight away you can just go to gemini.google.com, and this is where you can start already chatting with Gemini. So just a brief overview of the interface. It's pretty straightforward. I do have the chat. I can start asking it for help straight away, and I can actually just follow up on that conversation. I'll cover some of the options we have on the left menu a bit later. Let's just start chatting and let's try to plan a lesson. Let's start with that as an example. So just to show you how important the prompt engineering is, I'll compare two different prompts or requests from Gemini. So I'll say something like, I need help planning my intro lesson for the forces and motion unit for grade 7. So this is where I'm using a really basic prompt or request, and Gemini, even based on this, is already able to give me a suggestion or a lesson plan. Now, the problem with this is that while this might or might not be a good lesson plan for me, I'm not sure if it's actually tailored to my needs. So it's a very generic lesson plan. As you see, it does give me a lesson plan that I actually use. It does already include the main components, like including some activities for exploration. It gives me sort of the outline of the lesson. It also gives me some tips at the end. Now, this might be good enough as a starting point, and then I could take this and start customizing it. But one of the main things related to prompt engineering, and that's why I was giving you this intro to prompt engineering, is that if I give Gemini more information from the beginning, it will produce a lesson plan that is tailored to what I actually need. And it will be easier for me to adapt it later on and make some small tweaks rather than changing everything. So let me showcase another prompt I will build on, and I will show you that it will actually it will have a big impact on the lesson plan it might produce. So I'll try to use the voice typing here. You are an experienced science teacher in a school in Saudi Arabia. I need help planning my lesson for the grade 7 forces and motion introductory lesson. Our lessons are 60 minutes long. We do have access to a well-equipped science laboratory, and I do want to have differentiated activities for my students. Now, normally I'm not using voice typing, but when I'm doing the demos, it's a bit faster than typing everything. Of course, I do need to double check what's happening here. So of course, you can use voice typing, but always double check what you have there as input. So here, I already gave it some more context. I told it where my school is located. I've told it a couple of things about what resources I have access to, and so on and so forth. I could include more details here, of course, but just to show you the difference here, I will actually just use this, and you'll see that the lesson plan that it produces now will be better aligned with my context and my students. I already told it to play the role of an experienced science teacher, so the suggestions that it will make, rather than being generic, will come from the perspective of an experienced science teacher that has been working with lesson planning for years. And already you'll see that the lesson plan looks differently. So I will have the learning objectives. I do have the procedure broken down for the 60 minutes, including some introductory activities, quick questions for the engagement. And that's what I was telling about. I just mentioned that I'm at a school in Saudi Arabia, and it's already making some connections with the local context and background and culture. I will even have some Arabic words sneaked in here and there. And especially if I will be mentioning specifically what curriculum I'm using, that will be included as well. Now, is this a lesson plan that I will just copy paste using? No, this is a starting point for something that I can further customize. And this is one of the key components here. Whatever you would be generating using Gemini, always double check what it's producing. And of course, always follow up here. So here it also gives you, as you see, some teacher notes. And given that in this case, I asked for the instructions in English rather than Arabic. So here you see that it even tells me, hey, you might want to also use Arabic terms if I do have students that might find this helpful. If I would have asked for the lesson plan directly in Arabic and I would have prompted it in Arabic, it would not have given me this suggestion, of course. So always, that's why I'm saying the context, it's really important. And it gives it information, it gives it context as to what to include in the actual product. So lots of different options. Let's say I want to build on this. So I do have already sort of a starting point for a lesson plan. One great thing about using Gemini is that, remember what I said, you can think about it as your assistant. Whatever task you would have, you can always bounce ideas back and forth. So it gave me this lesson plan. I'm not done here. I can always go back and ask it for follow-up improvements or changes. So let's say here, going through this lesson plan, I noticed that it did give me a lab activity, and it gave me some instructions, but I might want to have more details about it. So I'll just say, elaborate please on the lab activity, and I will take it one step further, and I will say, for grading, I also want to use a rubric. So I want to use a rubric for grading. Please include it. And this is once again a follow-up prompt. In this case, I didn't have to give it all the instructions again. It knows what we are talking about because it's in the same chat. So it will just follow up from our previous conversation. And I did mention something specific from our previous conversation, which is the lab activity. And I also asked it to include the rubric for assessment. So this is what it produced. It did give me the full list of instructions for the lab activity. I do have instructions on how to properly set up, and also I will have the procedure that I can share with my students. And I do have also ideas for the discussions after the activity. I also asked it for the rubric, so here it is. I do have a rubric I could use for grading, or I could share with my students to help them assess their own work. And here I can easily use this one as it is, or I could export it to Google Sheets and then I could use it there. Now, this is one other advantage of working with Gemini. If you're using any of the other Google tools, everything is very well connected and integrated. So from here, I can just choose to export this. So I could export it, for example, to a Google document that I can then use for my own. I can just use it to organize my lesson plans, or of course I can share it with my students or colleagues. and I do have everything neatly organized in the document. So this is just one introductory example of what's possible with Gemini. So once again, you can just start asking it for help with any day-to-day task that you might have. I started with the lesson planning example. We don't have to stop here. So this is just a starting example. Let's look at some other examples and some other features that are available in the Gemini app. And I think they are really helpful, and you might want to have a look at them. So I will start a new chat. So we start from scratch. And that's what I said. When you start a chat, it keeps the context so you can carry on with the conversation. You can ask it follow-up questions. You can change what it produced. If you start a new chat, you start from zero. So here I will start with a new task. And let's say I want to create a list of the lab safety rules, for example. I can ask Gemini to do that. So I'll say something like, I need a list of the lab safety rules for my grade 7 students. And